Welcome back to another episode of DIY Projects with Charles. Today I am working on a 2008 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and this vehicle needs struts. So that's what we're tackling today. Got the new struts already, and so it's just a matter of getting started on this thing. So I just got it jacked up. I'm going to remove the wheels and get the jack stands underneath, so everything is stabilized, and then we'll get into the wheel well area and get started on these struts. This vehicle has 22,000 miles on it. Got quite a few miles on it. And most people don't know this, but struts need to be changed every 50,000 miles. My guess, based on the performance of how this thing handles on the road, these are the original struts. So 4 times over, they should have been changed by now. And this thing, it rides terrible. It's not so much that it rides terrible. It doesn't handle bumps well, potholes, anything like that. And if you were to go over a set of railroad tracks, for example, at a normal speed, and I'm going to say normal, let's say between 30 and 40 or 45 miles an hour, which is actually pretty slow. But just going over the railroad tracks, it literally feels like the entire suspension bottoms out, which it probably does. It bangs really hard, like there's no shock absorbing whatsoever in the suspension. It could be that the springs are bad as well. Who knows at this point? We won't know till we get into it, but definitely going to change these struts, do an inspection, and kind of go from there as to what else might need to be done. So hang tight. All right, I've got this vehicle jacked up, and jack stands under it, supported, and I was doing my inspection. Couple of interesting things that caught me right from the get-go, right off the bat. First thing was, you can see on this sway bar here, I think that's a sway bar, yeah, sway bar. The tire's been rubbing right there. Hopefully you can see that. I'll try and get a better light on it there. Okay, yeah, you can see how that's one part of it's really shiny and the rest of it is not. Same thing applies here, right there on the end of that. It's been rubbing most likely on the tire itself. Same thing right there. Been rubbing. Tire's been rubbing. Same issue over here on this side. So in certain articulating scenarios, depending upon how this thing is bouncing, jouncing, etc., that tire's rubbing. Now these are oversized tires on this Jeep, which is a pretty common thing for four-wheel drive vehicles, to get oversized tires, etc. But there are some things you need to be cautious about when doing that. So the first one is right here. Okay, so this right here is a wheel spacer, and again, this is common to use these wheel spacers to push the wheel out farther away from the the suspension and whatnot. And they just pop over. They're kind of a universal thing. That's why they're, you know, one size fits all kind of a scenario with the holes and whatnot. But I mean, if you look at that, that thing is at least 1/4 of an inch thick, if not 3/8 of an inch thick. I mean, it's a significant amount of space that this thing is pushing the wheel out. Okay, so now here's the things that you really got to pay attention to, right? So when you do this, when you add these spacers, and there's nothing really wrong with adding the spacers, but when you do add the spacers, you really need to change out the studs on the hub, because you have effectively shortened the stud by whatever that is. Let's call it 3/8 of an inch. You just made this stud 3/8 of an inch shorter than what it was designed to be from the factory. So you should replace all of these studs when you use these spacers with a 3/8 or longer, whatever the thickness is of the plate that you're putting in, to accommodate for that, to make sure that you have enough thread here to be able to accommodate the wheel, and you pushing the wheel that much further out. Now, if you don't do that, what you end up with are situations like this. So, if you can see that, this is the fender, right? This is the fender on the driver's side that we're looking at right now, and it's all mangled. And the reason it's mangled is because this wheel came off while driving, probably because there wasn't enough thread length on these on the studs to be able to accommodate that. So that's one issue, not enough thread, and that's probably going to be my primary reason for saying this wheel came off. Okay, so that's one part of it. And the second part of it too is that a lot of people will put they will put aftermarket lug nuts on it as well, and so you got to be cautious of that as well, because if you don't get the right lug nut, the thread isn't long enough, the thread isn't the right thread, whatever, you're asking for trouble. Okay, so at any rate, that's a problem. You know, to tear up the fender like that because the wheel came off at speed, it could have been, you know, significantly worse. But it really comes down to, if you're going to use these spacers like this one right here, if you're going to use these kind of spacers on the wheels, you have to accommodate for it. You just can't slap them on a vehicle and expect that that's going to be enough thread to be able to hold the wheel on, especially when you go to an oversized wheel or an oversized tire. Both oversized wheels and tires add additional weight to the wheel and the vehicle, and you just made this a weak point. So at any rate, something to be cautious of. That is certainly an issue. So I'm either going to reduce the tire size on this, or I'm going to put longer studs in it. So we'll figure out which way as we go. The other thing is probably hard to see from this angle, but these brakes are worn out. So we're going to end up doing a brake job as well as this strut on this vehicle. I mean, this thing is down. It's down to the point. You know, you can probably see it. Let me see if I can get a better angle on it. Not the easiest angle to get to, but the bottom line is that this thing is down to probably, I'd say, about 2 millimeters worth of pad. Yeah, it's at the edge of what we would consider the yellow zone, about to cross over into the red zone. I mean, basically your metal to metal contact after that. So that's getting replaced as well, and I'll let you know what else we find as we go. Oh yes, and I forgot to mention, and the whole idea behind getting up in here and doing this inspection, I got so wound up on the wheel spacers that I forgot to tell you about what was going on with the strut assembly itself. Hopefully you can see this a little bit better, but there's leakage here. There's an oily residue on the entire assembly of the strut itself. These bushings up in here, they might be worn out. You know, what kind of mileage this thing's got on it, I wouldn't be a bit surprised. So we're gonna take a look at those as well when we go to do this. Basically, what has to happen here is that this lower bolt down here, where this thing forks off, you can see right here it forks off, and so this bolt's got to come out. This bolt up here at the bottom of it has to come out. The brake line, let's see. Yeah, I'll have to remove this sensor line over here. Well, maybe not. Might just be able to pull it out of the way and be okay with it. But there will be a few things that have to be removed, and some things can just kind of be pushed to the side. At the top of the strut tower, there are typically 3, maybe 4 bolts that come through the top of the fender. So we'll have to get up inside under the hood, and we'll have to loosen those up, and then we'll take this assembly out. Now the replacement that I bought, I did not get the whole spring assembly. So, you know, just kind of from a comparison standpoint, I just bought the strut assembly itself. I didn't get the. I mean, you can buy them with the whole spring attached, the whole 9 yards. So I didn't do that. So I do have a spring compressor, which we will be using in order to remove the spring. These springs are under extremely high tension. You really cannot do this properly without a spring compression tool. It's very dangerous. It can kill you. So you got to have the right tools if you're gonna dive into this, or you're better off just to buy a strut assembly that has the spring already attached to it. Then you just pop the old one out, pop the new one in. It's a lot easier. It's a lot safer. But like I said, I've got the tool, so I'm gonna do it the other way, and I'll show you that as we get a little further along with it. But that's what I got for now. Okay, we're back here. I'm still doing my inspection. I happened to notice something that looked a little weird to me a minute ago. So as I was crawling around this wheel assembly, something struck me as odd. Trying to see if I can catch it. Yeah, right there. You can kind of see that there's some the bottom of this control arm. It looks like it's kind of wearing a little there. So I was like, okay, what is that exactly? Couldn't tell. Figured I better get down here and do a little bit deeper inspection. So here's what I found. Okay, let's see if I can get this on camera. Looky here. Holy crap. Yikes. It's a good thing we took this thing off the road when we did. This is this is a major accident waiting to happen. So somewhere along the line, the wheel, it would have been the prior wheel, the one that came off of this vehicle, when the wheel crunched the fender. But apparently this this issue over here with this wheel has been going on for quite some time, because this is basically the wheel rubbing the bottom of this control arm to the point where the bolt and the nut that goes on the end of this, coming off of this lower control arm here, it's gone. It is completely worn off. There is nothing really but the pressure of the suspension and the weight of the vehicle that is holding this lower ball joint together right now. I mean, this is insane. Let me pause this for a second. I'll go to the other side and show you what it's supposed to look like. Okay, here we go. Now we're on the passenger side of the vehicle. This is the same steering assembly. This whole entire, so the upper control arm and the upper ball joint are up there at the top of the screen. You can kind of see that. And then you got this big long steering knuckle. And down here at the bottom, you've got the lower control arm and the lower ball joint. So this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what I showed you on the other side. You know, with this nut is gone. It's completely ground off. The end of the ball joint is completely ground off. So a very dangerous situation. Hopefully we will get all of this fixed. But yeah, that was man, I'm glad that nothing happened, major problems with this before we got this found, because this is a very dangerous situation. And the other wheel has been replaced, and so at any rate, we got to figure out and make sure when this all goes back together, we got plenty of clearances and that there's no issues that can occur like this down the road. This is probably not just an issue with the wheel spacer. There's probably more involved with this, and so I'm going to continue digging and see if I can figure out exactly what happened on the other side that might have caused this. All right, so I've completed my inspection of the damage up underneath here, and so what I didn't see anything abnormal in any of the other suspension components. So I did notice that the rotor, when I took the rotor off, there is no damage to the rotor itself. So I've concluded that when this wheel came off and caused the damage to the fender, that it sheared off the nut to that lower ball joint as part of the impact with the ground and the weight of the vehicle dragging on the ground without a wheel. So the suspension steering knuckle, I'm not sure exactly what this arm is called. I'm assuming it's like a steering knuckle. It does have some damage to it. However, I believe if I can get in here and just replace this lower ball joint, put a new one in with the correct nut and everything to retain it on the bottom side, that it will probably be okay. So if not, then I'll replace this entire arm, but I'm not sure I have to go there just yet. So anyways, I thought it was kind of interesting. When I first saw that, I was like, holy crap, what caused that? And then I realized the wheel was gone. When the wheel came off, this thing's dragging on the ground for who knows how long, and it just sheared it right off and then ground it down some. So it doesn't look like it was significant on how it was ground down, but it is certainly ground down. I'll check the structural integrity of the the component and look to see if there's any cracks or anything else like that. If there is, obviously, then it has to be replaced. But we might get a pass on this one with a lower control arm replacement, not control arm, lower ball joint replacement. So we'll see how that goes as we get a little further into it. Stay tuned. Here's an update what I've got done so far. So I took the brake caliper off. It's hanging over there in the corner. I disconnected this upper control arm and ball joint assembly. I've got it sitting down there. So we've got most of that loose. The bolt that goes between it goes between the bottom of the strut mount is disconnected, and so it's pretty much loose in here right now. I just need to go disconnect the 4 bolts, take the 4 bolts on the top of this thing loose, and this whole assembly will drop out then. So up on top here, there's a couple of fuse boxes that sit on top of where the strut is mounted at. So you kind of have to get them loose to get down here to these 4 bolts on the top of the strut assembly. So that's where I'm at now. I'll get those loose. I've already sprayed them to kind of give them a little lubricant, loosen them up a little bit, and then hopefully they'll break loose easier that way. But that's the next step. Okay, I have pulled this down, so the 4 bolts are out of it at the top. I pulled it down from the top of the strut tower right there. Pretty much, got it loose. It's loose at the bottom, and it's already loose there. So it's just a matter of wiggling this thing and manipulating and trying to work it out. So anyways, I'll do that part. I'll come back on. I've got the strut tower out now, and you can see this is what it looks like at the bottom. This piece here is pinched with a bolt through here, so I should be able to just kind of knock it out. Now that the bolt's not in it, it's not pinched, so it should move relatively easy. And then I've got to get my spring compression on this, which I'll do in the bench vise, and then we can relieve the tension on this coil spring, so that we can take the old one out and put the new one in. Stay tuned. So I've got this strut assembly mounted in the vise, and we gotta use this coil spring compression tool to basically squeeze the coil, compress it long enough for us to take the nut and this assembly off down here, which will allow us to take the top off, slide the coil off, put it on the new strut, and then button it all back up. These coils are very strong, and you have to have a quality tool similar to this in order to be able to do this job. Otherwise, it's a very dangerous thing to try to attempt. So you really got to have the right tool for the right job. You don't want to mess around trying to do this without one of these tools, because it is extremely dangerous. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get cranking on this. Basically what's going to happen is I'm just going to come in here and tighten these up, each kind of about the same distance on each side, and just continue to bring this thing in nice and slow. And once we have it compressed, it'll give us a gap up here at the top, then I can start working on taking the other part apart. As I was going back together with this, I realized that these bolts, these 4 bolts here, these 2 and these 2 are a different distance. These are not equal. So these are actually closer together, and the ones that are closer together go on the inside. So you could put this thing on 180 degrees the wrong way and then have to compress the spring and go through all of that headache again to get it back lined up right. So the 2 shorter ones are on the inside. So this flange right here is the one that that one clamp at the bottom of the strut, it goes around, and then there's the bolt that goes through that. That's on the inside, right? So the flange is on the inside. So these 2 narrower bolts are also going on the inside. So hopefully when I get this all put back together, it will fit in there the way it's supposed to. But I just happened to notice that, so that is something that could add some more time to your repair if you ended up flipping it around the wrong way. So just something to be aware of. We are at the part where we need to remove this lower ball joint, and so I've got this this kit here. I'll show you. It's a Maddox ball joint service kit, and I picked this up at Harbor Freight. Just to kind of give you an idea of what's all in it. So there's a bunch of adapters. So the one that works for us is this middle one here. So if I can get that out so I can show it. This one here, which is number 4. And what you're looking for is a diameter big enough to be on the outside edge of the ball joint itself that you're trying to press out. These are pressed in, so you're trying to press it out of this lower control arm here. So you want a sleeve that is big enough that that it fits around the entire diameter of the ball joint without touching the ball joint itself, because obviously you're trying to push the ball joint into this hollow area with the tool. So that's the whole idea. So that's the right sleeve for that. This one here, which is number 3, is too big. So didn't use that one, and the other one's too small. So anyways, the part that goes on next is this one here, I believe. Nope, that goes on the other side. This one goes on next, which in this case is number 7. So this goes on top of here. Whew, except I have it on the wrong way, right? It goes over this way, I believe. Yeah, because depending upon the different sleeve that you use is going to fit into a different groove. So at any rate, that's how that part of it goes. And then then you have the actual puller assembly tool itself, which looks like so. It looks like a huge C-clamp, really, is what it kind of comes down to. And this part here, which is what, number 6, this part here goes on top of, goes over the ball joint. And so you're basically gonna assemble it like that. It slides over the end of the ball joint, and then you tighten it down on this side. So effectively what you're doing is you're kind of pinching all of this together. And the idea then is that you want to make sure that's centered. So it should be pretty much there without an issue. So you're going to put pressure on the control arm with the clamp, and you're going to put pressure on the ball joint with the clamp. And so essentially you're going to shove that whole thing all the way up in here using the tool. So I'm not going to wrench on this thing. Actually, I think I'm going to get in here with the impact. Yeah, I got enough room. I'm going to get in here with the impact, and I'm going to get on it kind of heavy, because I'm sure that's in there nice and tight, and I want to break it loose and get this thing out of here. And the impact's going to do a better job of that, considering all of this heavy equipment that I'm dealing with versus me trying to do it by hand. But at any rate, let's see if we can drive this thing out of here. Boy, that thing's in there good. All right, I'm going to back it off because it looks like it may have moved just a little bit here, so I'm going to recheck that. Okay, I'm getting ready to try to get this ball joint out of here, and I've been looking it over. From what I can tell, the ball joint, when it got pressed in, so let's see if I can show this here. It's going to be hard to see this on camera, but the bottom side of this ball joint here that goes into this lower control arm, there's a flange on it right here where the screwdriver is. The flange outer diameter is bigger than this diameter here on the top of this ball joint. So this big flange, so that means that when this ball joint was pressed in here, it came in from the bottom up like that. So in order for us to get this one out, it's got to go that direction. So at any rate, a couple of things. There's a couple of looks like machined tabs here, where basically there was a tool put on here and then smashed this outer edge in a couple of spots to kind of lock it into place. The same thing could be done with like a snap ring. something to that effect, but this was a machine that did it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a punch to it, and I'm going to try to knock those back out of the way, so that they don't interfere with this when that ball joint tries to go down through there. So I'm going to knock those back first, then I'm going to put the tool, hook the tool up on here, and then see if we can pull this thing down and out of here. So that's the plan. I figured I'd show this part to kind of make sure we talked about what exactly happened here. I think I showed the wheel earlier in the video. This wheel had actually come off the vehicle while it was moving, which obviously is very dangerous, and we had some damage, you know, because of that. Not just sheet metal, but also damage to the suspension, because when this wheel came off, the entire suspension dropped down to the ground and was dragging on the pavement, which sheared off this ball joint nut in the bottom of the ball joint. So it got a new ball joint assembly, so that's all good. The steering knuckle was fine, a few scrapes, but no big deal outside of that. So it's got a new ball joint installed, new nut, so that's all good to go, no issues with that. But I mentioned before that that this vehicle's got oversized tires and wheels, and it had these spacers on them. Okay, so these spacers are intended to push the wheel out and the tire, so that you can do just that, put oversized tires and wheels on a vehicle, especially four-wheel drive trucks, whatnot, tend to do this frequently. And so the problem is the thickness of that plate, that spacer plate that you put on. It has to be made up for. So in this case, it wasn't. This is the original hub and the original studs. So what I decided to do was I got extended bolts for these studs, and hopefully you can see that okay on camera. But this stud is a 1/2 inch longer than the OE stud, which gives you enough additional threads to make up for the spacer that you added. So you just add the spacer and you don't add the extra long threaded lug bolts, then you're asking for trouble. You're asking for a wheel to come flying off, while driving, which obviously is dangerous. So that's what we're going back one with. That was the solution. We are going to continue to use the spacers and the oversized wheels and tires, but we are going to make sure we get the correct size bolts, and we put this back together the right way. Basically, what happens with these, they're a press fit, but you can see this is knurled. Knurled is probably the wrong term, but at any rate, it's a press fit inside the hub. And basically what you do is you take like a socket that's big enough to fit around the lug bolt on the back side, and you put it underneath, and then you basically take a ball peen hammer or a brass hammer, something to that effect, to the bolt, and you drive it out of the hub, and then you turn around and you drive the new ones in, and then when the wheel goes on, the lug nut holds everything together nice and tight. So but that's how it works. So I'll go ahead and get these out of here and get the new ones in, and we'll get this thing back together. Okay, so I've had a couple of wrinkles, so I had to change my game plan, and this is plan B at this point. So I pretty much have everything put back together on this. Brake assembly is back together, new ball joint, new strut, the whole 9 yards. So the suspension portion of this is done and mostly reassembled. And I showed you that there was an issue with the lug nuts. The lug length. So plan A was to put these extended length lugs on here. The problem is I had a problem with the knurl itself, and I couldn't find the right diameter that would fit in the hub. So while the length was correct and the thread was correct, couldn't make the longer bolts work in this situation. So like I say, plan B is where we are now. So I bought these hub assemblies, basically, which would do the same thing. So this is thicker. This one's about an inch, and the other one was a half an inch. But the way these works, basically same way. So these fit over. These fit over the original studs, and then you just come back and you put these lug nuts on all the way around, and then you bolt your wheel directly to this, so it pushes the whole thing out, an inch from the original location. So that's what we're going back with. So I'm going to go ahead and finish putting this together, and put the wheel on, and we'll be good to go on this repair. And that will have handled pretty much everything related to this strut replacement. Like I said, the most difficult thing with the strut replacement was the compressing of the spring. So I mean, it takes a little bit of time to get down to this level in the repair to actually replace the strut. It's probably 2 hours would be my guess each side to get everything torn down to the point where you can make that replacement. And then of course going back together is a little simpler, but at any rate, so that's replacing the strut. I'm interested to see how this handles now that it's got new struts, and we get it out on the road and give it a go. But thanks for watching and this episode, and if you liked what you saw, please hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.